So I've been a lifelong Timberwolves fan. We've been through a lot. We've been through really bad seasons where we knew that nothing was going to happen. A lot of highs and lows. Just when you think you get there, you kind of go down.
I can't explain it. Being a fan for this long, going through the ups and downs, a lot of downs. You just see something different in this team, and it's all starting around our defense.
All right, Timberwolves fans and NBA skeptics alike, brace yourselves. Are we on the verge of witnessing NBA history? Could this year's Minnesota Timberwolves actually have the deepest roster in NBA history? Teams talk about having depth every year, but this Timberwolves lineup is on another level. We're talking about a team so stacked that their third-string players could be legit rotation players on most squads. With franchise cornerstone Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert leading the charge, new firepower like Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo, and a bench that just seems to keep going, this squad is looking scarier by the day. Let's break down exactly what makes this team's depth so outrageous. So, let's start with the big picture. Last season, the T-Wolves already made waves, going as far as the Western Conference Finals. They had the best season in franchise history, yet somehow, they've managed to come back even better. How? Well, the front office decided this offseason to go all in, reloading the roster in a way that fills every single gap. They pulled off a blockbuster trade to bring in Julius Randle, a powerhouse forward who brings a combination of scoring, rebounding, and defensive presence that this team desperately needed. Randle isn't just a bruiser in the post, he's a Swiss Army knife, averaging 24 points, over 9 rebounds, and 5 assists last season. That's the kind of production that forces defenses to adjust, and when they do, it opens up opportunities for scorers like Edwards and shooters like DiVincenzo. And speaking of DiVincenzo, this guy's a sniper who quietly ranked third in the league for three-pointers made last year. Minnesota wanted to add shooting, and DiVincenzo delivers exactly that. He's coming off a season where he shot 40% from deep on high volume. That's a lethal weapon to have alongside Edwards, who draws defenders like a magnet. Then there's Rob Dillingham, a lottery pick rookie with electrifying potential. We watched him in the preseason, and let me tell you, his offense is instant. His shooting, handles, and ability to create plays might just make him a dark horse candidate for Rookie of the Year. And then we have Terrence Shannon Jr., another rookie who debuted with insane athleticism, throwing down dunks that look straight out of a dunk contest. He's bringing that Westbrook-style explosiveness that makes highlight reels. Together, Dillingham and Shannon are adding a youthful spark and some serious energy to this team. And if that's not enough, the Wolves brought in veterans like Mike Conley and Joe Ingles, who add experience, poise, and a steadying influence on the floor. This isn't just a roster with depth, it's a roster with balance. They have rookies with potential, vets with experience, and stars in their prime. This isn't a typical 8 or 9-man rotation. No, the Timberwolves can easily run 10, 11, even 12 players who can contribute meaningfully. When we talk about depth, this is what it looks like. Now, at the heart of it all, we have the Timberwolves leader and rising superstar Anthony Edwards. Last year, he didn't just improve, he skyrocketed into NBA superstardom. Edwards has evolved from a flashy dunker to an all-around offensive and defensive powerhouse. Let's talk numbers. On all his drives and cuts last season, Edwards finished an incredible 60% of his field goals. That level of efficiency on drives is insane, especially considering how defenses are constantly game planning to stop him. But Edwards isn't just a slasher. He's added layers to his game that make him a complete threat on offense. His three-point percentage, a solid 35.6. With DiVincenzo, another high-volume shooter now spacing the floor with him, defenses are facing a nightmare scenario. Collapse on Edwards and you leave a sniper open. Stay home on shooters and Edwards will eat you alive in the paint. And don't sleep on his defense either. Edwards has matured into a two-way player, someone who takes pride in locking down his man. When he's dialed in, Edwards becomes a defensive menace, forcing turnovers, contesting shots, and creating havoc for opposing offenses. Pairing him with defensive specialists like Jaden McDaniels and DiVincenzo gives the Timberwolves an almost impenetrable perimeter defense. Edwards can switch between on-ball and off-ball, making him a flexible weapon for Coach Finch's system. With Edwards at the core, the Timberwolves have an offensive dynamo who opens up the floor for everyone else. His presence alone forces opponents into tough choices, and it's that pressure that makes every other piece of this roster even more effective. Now, let's dive into two of the Timberwolves' newest and most impactful additions, Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. These two bring a level of versatility and depth that takes this team from playoff good to potential title contender territory. Julius Randle, with his powerful and bruising playstyle, is giving Minnesota a physicality they haven't had in years. This guy is a workhorse who doesn't back down from any challenge. Last season, he averaged 24, 9, and 5. That's the kind of production that forces defenses to focus on him, which in turn opens up lanes and shots for Edwards and DiVincenzo. Randle's presence down low means the Timberwolves now have a versatile post scorer who can also hit from mid-range, making him a perfect fit for today's NBA. On the defensive end, Randle can switch onto guards and wings, giving the Wolves flexibility in high-stakes moments. You want toughness in the paint? Randle brings it. And then there's DiVincenzo, a player who doesn't just shoot but disrupts the game on both ends. DiVincenzo isn't just a shooter, he's a complete two-way player. After the All-Star break last season, he averaged 3.5 made threes per game, fourth most in the season. Shooting over 44% from three? That's the type of efficiency that forces defenses to stay honest. But what really makes DiVincenzo special is his defense. He ranks 6th in the NBA in deflections and 14th in steals per game. His ability to disrupt passing lanes and contest shots makes him a perfect fit next to Edwards, creating a backcourt that can both score and defend at an elite level. With Randle drawing attention inside and DiVincenzo stretching the floor, the Timberwolves are setting up an offense that can score from anywhere. They've become a team where you have to pick your poison, and against most opponents, that's a recipe for disaster. But we're just getting started. This team's true advantage lies in its insane supporting cast. Jaden McDaniels is a name that every NBA fan should know. Last season, he made a name for himself as one of the most versatile defenders in the league. Standing at 6'10" with a wingspan close to 7 feet, he's a nightmare matchup. McDaniels held opponents to just 50% shooting on shots within 10 feet, 10% lower than their usual average. He can lock down guards, wings, and even some bigs. McDaniels is the guy you put on the other team's best scorer and say, good luck. Then there's Naz Reid, a player who defies the conventional backup big man role. Reid is more than capable of starting, but he's coming off the bench, and that's where the Timberwolves' depth really shines. Last season, Reid shot 41% from three-point range, making him a legitimate floor-stretching big who can also roll hard to the rim. With his solid conversion rate on layups and dunks, Reid is a serious threat both inside and out. He's quick enough to keep up with smaller players on switches, giving him versatility on defense as well. Reid's skill set as a big man who can shoot, drive, and defend makes him one of the most valuable sixth men in the league. The Timberwolves' depth means they aren't reliant on their starters for every point, rebound, or defensive stop. They have players like Nickeil Alexander-Walker who can bring playmaking off the bench, Josh Minott for additional length, and rookies like Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. who bring athleticism and energy. All of this brings us to Coach Chris Finch, who's been given the ultimate coaching toolbox. Finch has talked openly about wanting to improve the Timberwolves' pace, reduce turnovers, and bring a clutch offense. Now, he has the roster to pull that off. Last season, the Timberwolves struggled in transition, often missing opportunities to turn defense into fast break points. But now, with athletes like Edwards, McDaniels, and Shannon Jr., the Wolves are poised to capitalize on every steal and rebound. This lineup is built to fly down the court, and in today's NBA, where pace can make or break games, this will be huge. Then there's lineup flexibility. DiVincenzo, Alexander-Walker, and others can play both on and off the ball, which gives Finch endless combinations. Need more shooting? Roll with DiVincenzo and Edwards together. Want a defensive lockdown lineup? Throw McDaniels and Alexander-Walker out there. The Timberwolves have the personnel to adapt on the fly, making them a tough matchup for any team in the league. And Finch's strategy of staggering minutes, like alternating Randle and Reid, means they always have a strong presence on the floor. Randle might start, but Finch can mix it up so that he plays against bench units where he'll be even more effective. And in crunch time, depending on the matchup, they could go big, small, or anything in between. So, let's bring it back. Are the Timberwolves the deepest team the NBA has ever seen? They've got an all-star in Edwards, a versatile and tough forward in Randle, and one of the most skilled benches in the league. This isn't just about the names on the roster, it's about the skill, experience, and flexibility they bring. Defense? Locked down, with Gobert anchoring the paint, Edwards and McDaniels on the perimeter, and DiVincenzo disrupting off-ball. Offense? They can score in any way imaginable, with Edwards driving, Randle posting up, or DiVincenzo drilling threes. And with Chris Finch at the helm, they're not just deep, they're dangerous. Are they the deepest team in NBA history? It's possible. And if they keep up this momentum, we might be looking at a team that can not only contend, but redefine what roster depth means in the NBA.